All right, we're going to go ahead and get started for the sake of time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We're super excited that we could connect with you this afternoon. I mentioned this earlier, but I want to give a quick shout out to the student group leaders across, the UC Davis, UC Santa Cruz, and Santa Clara for helping us put this event on. It's truly been like a collaborative, process, getting feedback from student leaders around the type of content that we think that you all as members of these organizations would value and appreciate, and also making sure that we could connect you with the recruiting opportunities at our company. I'm joined today by a team of engineers and full-time employees, former interns that are excited to share a little bit more about their experiences with the company. We're hoping to cover a variety of topics today, so we hope that you can stick around for the entirety of the call. We should be, having presented content up until about 5:45, and then at that point we'll break out into smaller rooms. We're expecting, a lot of folks on this call today, but don't worry, there will be an opportunity for you to connect with us, hopefully in a little bit of a smaller setting through what we'll set up or call breakout rooms, and I'll explain kind of how those work when we get to that. In the meantime, I want to welcome you, and I want to also start with some introductions so you know who we are representing Microsoft today. I'm happy to, kick us off and get us started. Like I mentioned earlier, my name is Brian. I'm a university recruiter with Microsoft. I've been on this team for a few years now, and I've held a few different roles. My most recent role is based in San Francisco, so I sit in California. After having spent a few years at headquarters in Redmond, Washington. And my focus is on hiring and welcoming software engineering talent from schools across the Bay Area. So anywhere as far south as UC Santa Cruz and as far north as UC Davis. It's been really nice to come back home. I'm a San Francisco native, so if we have any Bay Area folks in the house representing today. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Excited to meet you all. Devanshi, do you want to go next?
I guess I'll go next. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Devanshi. I am a graduate from UC Santa Cruz, just graduated last March. And I just joined Microsoft as an Aspire hire as a cloud solutions architect working with data and AI. So I'm really excited to meet all of you, even though it's virtually. It would have been awesome if it was in person, but just excited to connect and help you guys out.
Well, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly. I went to Santa Clara University. I graduated in 2018, and I joined Microsoft right after that, working as a software engineer on the Cortana team, which is where I still am today. And I'm also a California native, born and raised.
Cool. Thank you, Kelly.
Hi, everyone. My name is Pratusha. So I graduated from UC Davis, go Ags, this past June. I just started, so this is actually my 6th week here this week, so super excited. I'm a PM. And yeah, I was born and raised in California as well. Because of remote working, I'm working in California, but I'll be going to Redmond as soon as things get better.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. My name is Angeles, or Angie. I'm currently a junior at Santa Clara University. This past summer, I was a SWE intern. I will also be a SWE intern next summer. And I'm actually from Redmond, Washington. So it's been cool to go back home in that way.
That's awesome. I forgot about that. Thanks, Angie. Rashika? I think she might be having some technical trouble. Rashika, feel free to join us when you can. But for now, we'll move on to Z.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Z. I'm a current graduate student at University of California, Davis. Yeah, go Eggs. And over the summer, I interned for the CG security team. So I was on the red team, which is offensive security, and I was a PM intern there.
Awesome. Thank you, Z, for joining us, and thank you everyone who's volunteered their time to share more about their time at Microsoft. I'm going to be asking our new grads to lead us in a special part of today's training or today's workshop. So I'll give you an idea of what you can expect on today's call. We're hoping to cover a lot of ground. We'll start with giving you an introduction to Microsoft and who we are as a company, and more specifically about like our mission statement and really like the cultural values that really define us, and kind of define how we go about accomplishing our mission as a company. In addition to that, we're going to have our alumni lead us in a resume workshop, which we hope is helpful to you as you craft, your best resume as you begin your job application process. I'm going to round us out with some tips from the recruiting side of things, and give you some ideas around the ways that you can stand out, specifically by highlighting, your passion and potential as a candidate. We'll shift gears a little bit and have the interns tell us a little bit more about the projects they worked on this summer. And then I will take us home with some instructions on how you can submit an application. And I'll tell you a little bit more about like the different roles that we hire for, and I'll explain the differences between our 2 internship programs. And then right at the 5:45 mark, I'm hoping that we can break out into our Q&A panels so that you all have the opportunity to ask questions. I'm going to be bopping around the Q&A panels, so I won't be in any specific room, but I'm always in the chat. So if you have any recruiting related questions, I'm happy to answer those. But I'm hoping that we'll answer a majority of your questions before we get to the Q&A. So cool. With that, I'm going to, and questions, by the way, are going to be welcomed in the meantime. I haven't quite explained, the housekeeping on this Teams call. What's great about, this call that we're on right now is that there are no, limits on all of you to come off mute. If you'd like to ask a question, we'll be pausing at certain parts, probably after the resume piece, to make sure we're answering any questions that are relevant to that as we go. There's also the hand raise feature. So if you wanted to raise your hand, that's a helpful way for us to know to stop and maybe answer your question. And as some of you have already utilized, we have that chat feature as well. So if it's easier to just ask your question in the chat, I'll be monitoring that as well. But cool, let's dive in here and talk a little bit about Microsoft's mission. Some of you might be familiar with us as a company, but fewer of us know what like the mission statement is. And actually, I had no idea what the mission statement was before I worked at Microsoft. I remember standing in line at my new employee orientation years ago and getting my badge. I was pretty excited because my picture came out good, and I was like, yes, it's going to be a good day. But I remember reading the mission statement and kind of thinking that this is kind of like a generic corporate statement about like changing the world. And I didn't really think twice about it, to be honest. But the more time that I've spent at Microsoft, the more I understand why this is like so important. And the reason for that is because it identifies, 2 things. The first is who our customers are. We are talking about, nearly everyone on the planet. And when we mean everyone, we really take that to heart when we think about creating technology that is accessible regardless of your abilities, or about how much money you have or where in the world you are. Microsoft is really committed to democratizing technology and revolutionizing the role that it plays in our everyday lives. And it kind of leads us to the second point, which is the key word here, which is empowerment. It's about like reimagining what technology can and should do, constantly pushing the bill on innovation and pushing those boundaries. But it's also, about asking ourselves what technology should and shouldn't do, whether that's, thinking about, limits on, ethical artificial intelligence, or maybe it's about leveraging our influence as a really big company in the world to think about and address climate change, or addressing racial injustice, or finding solutions to, the pandemic. There is a lot of really important values that I think guide how we approach, this really tall order of making technology for everyone. And they're informed by these 5 pillars of our culture. And I really encourage all of you, as you begin your recruiting process, and as you'll begin to apply for jobs and learn about companies, to do your research on the foundational pieces of any company's culture, because I can't stress how important this is. And this is something that is felt sometimes even from day one, around the way you're treated as an employee and the things that really matter to that company. For us at Microsoft, these are the 5 things that we've identified as being really important to us. They range anywhere from having a growth mindset, which is this idea that everyone can grow and learn and be amazing if they're given the resources and the time and the opportunity to achieve that. And it's also about like embracing our failures and learning from them, and kind of having this like obsession with learning. So that's one piece. Creating technology that our customers love and anticipating those needs, putting that every person and every organization on the planet first is key. Building a workforce that not only reflects the perspectives of the customers that we aim to serve, so building a diverse set of perspectives, but also creating an environment where everyone feels welcome to share that perspective and like they have a place at the table. Moving together as one Microsoft, having one centralized mission is really important to us as well. We're a big company. We make everything from games to cloud technology. So finding those bridges is important to us. And finally, we're really passionate about finding work that matters, and giving every employee an opportunity to bring whatever it is that they're passionate to their work. So that's just a preview around some of the, the big kind of cultural pillars or values that we really care about at Microsoft. You're certainly welcome to do more research to learn a little bit more about what each of these means. I think on YouTube, you can even find videos for each of these cultural pillars. So I encourage you to use the internet to your advantage in that sense. With that said, we're going to shift gears and talk to you all a little bit about resumes. And I'm going to ask Devanshi to kick us off with a little bit about how we look at resumes in the first place as recruiters.
Yeah, awesome. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
There's a little bit of an echo. I don't know why.
I can mute.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. So we're starting off with just resume tips, and we'll dive a little deeper in the next few slides. But briefly, what recruiters look at is having your graduation date. So this means what is the month and the year that you graduated in. And then second, you want to make sure that you have your academic background, so both your undergrad and graduate schools. And then you want to make sure that you're writing in all your applicable skills and experiences. And when I am working on my resume, I really like to construct it based on the job app itself. So I really make sure that my skills are aligned with whatever the job position is asking for. And then finally, this is where you get to be creative. So this is the really exciting part, is all your personal projects, all the technical experiences that you've had in the past, right? Did you volunteer? Did you have any leadership experience or community involvement? So some examples are the ones that are listed here. So were you involved in any hackathons? Did you win any? Did you win in any hackathons? Did you win awards or scholarships? Were you a TA? And then lastly, any indicators of passion of whatever it is that you're interested in. So, this can range from having, if you've taught at any nonprofit, or even if you haven't won at a hackathon, it really helps to just write down whatever project it is that you worked on, because that shows that you're interested in some field of STEM, right? And it shows that you're kind of taking action, taking the steps to get to where you want to be. And I think that's the biggest thing that recruiters look at, is what are you doing to set yourself apart? So GitHub has been a great resource. So just Brian, add on to this, but I think GitHub is what I find sets me apart, is where I just like work on little projects and add them in there, and that just really helps. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And I know there's a note there that says, recruiters look at resumes for 6 seconds. I have to admit, I don't think I'm that fast. But you get the idea that, we are scanning resumes pretty quickly. And we're going to dive in and kind of really kind of provide you with some specifics around two areas of your resume that we hope we can, give you some advice on. So we're going to talk first about format and why that's important.
All right, so format. I think it's always important to have something that's well put together so that when recruiters are looking through all this material, they can see what really, like, they can see this kind of like clean, well put together presentation. You can wow them. So some tips that you can have to wow them is always make sure that it's clean, it's nicely formatted, there are no typos. Take your time, go through all the material that you are putting in, because all this information is really key to your success. Another thing, right, include your contact information, your email, your phone number, also your graduation date, right? When are you graduating? Make it clear, have the month, have the year. Try to keep it, make sure you keep it within a page, only because, right, like they said in the previous slide, they only have 6 seconds. So try to keep whatever you think is the most important within that page. Make it simple, straightforward, engaging. Try to have, use white space, right? White space is your friend. You don't want to pack anything too dense, because when people are looking through, right, they'll be like, yay, this is visibly pleasing. Don't use more than 2 fonts, and use whatever colors you want as long as it's readable and it's user-friendly. Never use middle orientation for body text, and use the tabs as your advantage. And I think that you should really look at the example that Brian has provided, because I think that it truly is showcasing all these bullet points that we've been talking about. And finally, like I said before, this is a really easy and awesome resume that you should try to, take the tips and look into and try to replicate that.
Totally. And I would add too that these templates are available online super easily. So there's no excuse for not having a well formatted resume these days. A lot of those, templates are actually built right into Microsoft Word. Shameless plug for our product, but know that that's available to you as you get started. I'm going to invite Kelly to tell us a little bit more about how you can build great content.
Yeah, content. Okay, so what do you actually put in the resume? What's the meat of it? The biggest thing, which is the first bullet, is we want to see the impact that you're having, whether it's a project that you've started, a course you did a project for, or that you did really well in, that you learned something from, or a work experience that you've had. We want to know what you learned, what you did, but also what impact did that have? What was the result? What change did you make? How did you improve? What's the result of what you're doing? And then the second thing is you want to be concise as possible. You almost want to keep it as short as you can while still telling us what you did and what the impact was. A good rule of thumb is to keep it below 140 characters, definitely on to 1 or 2 lines. 1 line per bullet is probably best. You want to start sentences with action verbs. You want to include buzzwords and action verbs throughout as much as you can. And a tip that I kind of employed was actually looking at a job description I was looking for and then tailoring my resume to even include some of those buzzwords that they might have used, because odds are a recruiter may try to look for those specific kind of descriptor words. So you can kind of use synonyms, or if you think that you have your own flavor of that quality that they're looking for, definitely try to include those action words, something you did, you built, you led, you initiated. Those kinds of things really do catch recruiters' eyes. Also, we want to know, we know your students, so we want to see what you're learning. What are you doing? What are you picking up? So what are the skills that you're using in these various projects? What languages are you becoming familiar with? What frameworks are you using? Keeping those in, and also even bolding those is really helpful for a recruiter, for anyone else who's reading your resume, because it kind of helps the eye just jump directly there, and we can see everything that you're engaging in and also what the impact was. Another good rule of thumb thing to do is to tailor the content of your resume for every role that you apply to. So if it's an important role and you really want to get your resume in front of the recruiter, you really want to get past like the screening round, you really want to get engaged with the company, do go ahead and like edit and review your entire resume and try to tailor all of the content on there towards what that job description is or what you've read online about the company culture. Something that I personally like to do is I have like a larger, messier, much greater than 1-page document that has like all of my experience and like various different kinds of descriptions of it that I've used in the past. And then you can kind of pull from that library to create that nice, clean 1-page, one-side content filled resume tailored exactly to each job description that you're really serious about. And going along with that, you want to make sure that everything that's on that one page, because it is such a small amount of very exclusive real estate, you want to make sure everything on that page is relevant, not outdated, and related to the actual job that you're going for. Always edit, reread it, have a friend read it, go ahead and like reword some of the bullets if you think they sound strange. Making sure that it's clean and presentable really is kind of your first impression of the company. So you have all the time in the world to get it right. So you really want to make sure that that first foot that you put in the door is a really good one. And then I think, as Devanshi was saying before, GitHub and LinkedIn can be your friend if you happen to have profiles on those sites. If you have some project or code, feel free to go ahead and put those up there along with your contact information, kind of like we have in this example.
Cool. Thank you so much, Kelly, Devanshi, and Pratusha for that information. We had a question from someone in the chat, so feel free to come off mute and ask that question.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Cool. I had a question about how best to quantify like the work that you do technically. So I'm trying to quantify my work for the internship I worked last summer, and previously I was using lines of code as a benchmark, but I don't like lines of code as a benchmark because however many lines, like if you're writing good code, you should be trying to minimize like lines of code. So I updated it to how many tickets I closed and how many pull requests I made. I'm just interested to hear what your thoughts on that are, on like what a good benchmark for that would be.
From the
Someone can.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I might just, I'll definitely want to hear your perspective too. I just add from the recruiting side of things. I think what we're really interested in learning and understanding is the impact that you've had and the work that you had. So that's it's less about how many lines of code, but more about why the work that you did mattered. I don't know if Kelly or the other alumni have anything to share in addition.
Yeah, I was pretty much just going to echo what Brian has said. Like, pull requests are great. Like, number of tickets closed shows you've made an impact, but metrics that are really important to think about is like okay, so you've written 100 lines of code, but how many users of the product that you are writing that line of code for? How many people use that product? How many time zones is that product in? If you're talking about a leadership experience that you've had where maybe you had the opportunity to manage a team or like lead a club organization, like a lot of you have on this call, how many folks are in that organization? How much enrollment were you able to generate for that organization? Did you have any kind of events where folks gave feedback? What kind of feedback did you get on those events? The kind of things that make material impacts. So like if we're working on a product, that product is for somebody. So how did you materially change the experience for that customer or for the other people on your team if your improvement was really to help out the people that you were working with? That's how I would kind of frame it.
I love that. Thank you, Kelly. Any other questions about like format or content that we can answer now while we're here?
Hi.
I was wondering how to rank any engineering blogs or articles that you've written onto your resume.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I'd recommend maybe creating a section. If you have, a lot of, similar types of articles that were published, you can, create a section that says, published work. That way you can find a way to include that. You'll notice that in this example, the student created a section called Other. There's no hard and fast rules for a lot of this. I know we are kind of describing it as a perfect science, but the truth is there isn't. Everyone is different, and there's a lot of different ways that you can distinguish yourself. So you can get creative with either creating a new section or adding it under something like Other.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. We have a question in the chat about what's considered outdated. Is experience or projects from over 2 years ago too old to put on your resume? I would say that's all kind of it's relative. So it depends on where you are in your college career and how much experience you have. It's also dependent on how much space you have. If you're running out of space and you have projects that are more relevant, that are more recent, I would encourage you to prioritize those versus the one that's 2 years old. Again, it's one of those things where you have to use your best judgment to really include the information that you think is most applicable to the role that you're interested in. So hopefully that helps. And for freshmen or sophomores on the call, if you're worried that high school is too old, don't worry about that. I would say that high school work is still incredibly relevant, especially to those of you who just started college. We don't expect you to start at a clean slate just right off the bat because you're in college now. I want to just talk a little bit about this example that we have here on the page. I know that, for me as a student, if I were to see this, I'd probably be like, oh my gosh, this is a really intense resume. This person was a TA, they held a part-time job, they've done all these personal projects, they've had an internship. I want everyone to not feel discouraged by, this example. This is just a really, like I mentioned earlier, intense and awesome example. But we don't expect every candidate to be here, in regards to how many experiences they've built, which kind of brings me to my next point around, Microsoft's philosophy around hiring students in the first place. Because you all are students and because you're just getting, you're just learning this material, you're just starting your careers, we don't expect you to have years and years of work history or even specialized training or skills in specific areas. Our recommendations for hire are typically based on your potential for success, as opposed to how excellent you've proven yourself to be already. And we also are looking for candidates that are really passionate about technology. Before I move on, I will answer some of these questions that are here in the chat, just so we don't forget about you. How many projects should you have on your resume? Any ideal number? Ron, I'd say that there's no specific, recipe or number there. I think having projects on there look great, especially if they're personal projects. I would just warn you that sometimes having all academic projects, it hardly distinguishes you as a candidate. You'll notice that many of your classmates will have the same class projects on their resume. So start thinking about ways that you can distinguish yourself. Cation, I think you asked a question about color. I would just make sure that it's legible. Like Pratusha mentioned, you're welcome to use color, but just don't get too crazy. Fun fact, I'm actually red-green colorblind. So if you were to use red and green combos, I probably couldn't read parts of your resume. So don't make it, inaccessible, I'd say. And then Christina asked a question about Engineering Honor Society. That looks great. I'd say, I think folks sometimes can feel what should I include? What shouldn't I include? And I know there's a little anxiety too sometimes around wanting to make it perfect. The way that I instruct all the resume reviewers and the full-time engineers that help me is that, there are no, there are just clues that we have. There's no recipe for having a great resume. Someone with a great GPA, for example, that's like, a positive clue that this student has potential. But if, the student doesn't include their resume, I'm not going to, call the school up and find out what their GPA is. It's just one less clue that I have amid a lot of different, pieces of information that I see on your resume. So having something like, your engineering honor society in your resume, that's like a good clue. They're involved in school. They might be passionate about technology because they're, taking the time to learn from other students or get involved in a community sense. So that's how I'd answer that question. We're going to pause on the questions just for the sake of time, but I'm hoping that we can answer your questions that, follow up in the breakout rooms as well. But back to this piece around passion and potential, I really want to drive home, the ways that you can distinguish yourself as a candidate. One thing that is sort of underrated is this idea that when you come to, Microsoft, or when you start a job, chances are you're going to be learning a majority of what you need to do on the job. It's, hardly ever, like I mentioned, that, we've required you to know a specific coding language, for example. We can always teach you those new technologies, but what we can't teach you is how to be passionate, and how to care about the work that you're doing. So the questions that I would encourage all of you to start asking yourself is like, what is it that makes me excited about working in tech or like with technology? Like, how do I spend my time outside of school? Like, why did I choose my major specifically? Like, what on my resume am I really proud of, or the things that I really want to like really learn and kind of get deeper in? When we review resumes, that could translate to like a student a lot of personal projects, or that's like really intense GitHub, or maybe they've joined some student groups and they've even taken on leadership roles. That indicates to us passion. Maybe they've been really involved in hackathons, or they found other ways to get kind of involved in other extracurricular engagements related to tech. So start thinking about ways that you could indicate that passion, because again, we can't teach you that. And the second thing we're looking for is like your potential. Like, are you eager to learn and to grow? Like, I would ask myself, like, how am I taking, advantage of the educational resources that my school has to offer? How am I challenging myself to learn something new, or to grow as an engineer or as a leader? How do I drive through obstacles and really get things done? So sometimes that translates to, students building applicable skills, whether that's, through an academic project, or maybe it's from an experience that they had, whether that was like a professional, internship, or maybe it was like a personal project, or maybe it was an academic opportunity where they did research, or maybe they took on a TA role, they mentored students. Those all indicate to us that you have the potential to really run with the learning opportunity that you'd be provided at a company like Microsoft. So hopefully this helps you all like start, get the gears going in your brain around some of the things that maybe you didn't include on your resume, but that you're like, no, I really should go back and change this. One thing that I am really excited to offer everyone, and I'm hoping that these, questions are spurring a lot of like excitement to edit your resume now. We're going to invite everyone on this call to book a one-on-one resume session with a Microsoft employee. So usually these are, engineers, and they've all been trained on how to coach, students. They've also all been in your shoes. Many of them are recent college grads from the Bay Area. So if you're interested in taking advantage of this opportunity, the link is here. I'm also going to type it out here in the chat so that you can sign up. Fun fact is that spots will run out, so maybe not so fun, but there's plenty of room now, but I would encourage you to sign up before spots close. And again, that's happening this Friday from 3:30 to 5. They're 15-minute increments, and you can even choose who you'll be meeting with if you recognize any of the names there. Cool, we hope you enjoyed that. We're gonna pivot and we're gonna talk about internships and all of that fun stuff around what the experience is actually like. So I'm going to invite Angie to kick us off and tell us a little bit more about the software engineering internship she did this summer.
Yeah, of course. All right. So, Brian, if you could, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, you got it.
Thank you. Okay, cool. So my name is Angie or Angeles McNally, and this past summer I was a software engineering intern. I attend Santa Clara University, as I mentioned in my intro, where I'm a junior. My major is in computer science and engineering. I also have a minor in philosophy. And like I said, I am from Redmond. So as you can see, sort of in the upper left corner of that slide, there's a picture of me on the Microsoft sign, and this is sort of the very like stereotypical, if you visit the Microsoft campus, you basically have to take this picture. So there's mine from the day that I interviewed last year. So this summer I worked on Outlook. So I worked on the Outlook web app in a group called the Accelerator Group. So the Accelerator, its main purpose is to make cool new things and make them fast. So that was really exciting to me when I found out that was the team I was going to be on, just because there's a lot of, cool ways that you can see, let's test out an idea, let's see if the customers like it or not, and, just sort of iterating on ideas from there. So the team that I worked on makes something called Project Mocha. So Project Mocha is this Canvas-based organizational space. So it's sort of in preview right now, so it's not widely available, but some Outlook accounts and some educational Outlook accounts have it. So if you have an Outlook for EDU account, you might have access to this. You can drag lots of different things to a board, and you can use them to organize a project or a trip, or maybe you can make like a meal plan. It's really up to you what you might want to use this for. So something that I worked on is making sort of these travel cards in Project Mocha. So Outlook has this existing feature that'll parse through your emails and get important information for you. So for example, if you have a flight coming up, Outlook will go through, it'll get like your flight information, when it takes off, when it lands, what your confirmation number is, all of those things, and it'll display it all like in a nice concise little box for you at the top of your email. So I brought those boxes into Project Mocha. So that's sort of the blue card that you can see on the screen there. That was my work, and it has now been launched worldwide as of, I believe, 2 weeks ago. My mentor emailed me about it. So it's pretty exciting to see code that I wrote as a student, right after my sophomore year of college, now touching tens of thousands of people. So while my intern project was really cool, there were a lot of other really exciting parts about being at Microsoft for the summer, even though it was online. There were a lot of intern events. Some of them were, put on by Microsoft, but a cool thing is that interns could also put on their own events as well. So I went to a lot of these coffee chats that were put on by interns with a lot of executives at the company, so I could meet people from all over. Even if they are really high up, it was a chance just, as an intern to get to meet somebody, in a very different place in their career and learn from them. And I also got to meet other people from around the company with some help from my manager who helped me network and just hear about different roles that I could go into. So it was a really great summer.
Thanks, Angie. Moving along, Rashika, were you able to join us?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Okay, awesome. Yay, welcome.
Difficulties earlier. But hi, everyone. My name is Rashika Patel. I am a junior at UC Santa Cruz, and I'm a computer science major and a technology and information management minor. This summer, I was fortunate enough to be an Explore intern on the Bing Ads analytics team, and my project revolved around so there's a tool that they have at Bing Ads that they use internally to look at the analytics data. So sometimes it's slow or there's problems with it. So my project with my intern pod was to create a notification system, basically. So if there's any problems that are going on with the tool, then my project would basically notify the people in my team and other people who are working around this tool. And after I finished setting up that notification system, I worked with Power BI to set up a dashboard where everyone could look at analytics data. So a really cool thing about the Explore internship is that you don't work on your project alone, you work with your pod. So in my case, my pod was just me and another intern who I actually interviewed with. So I had met her before, even though our internship was remote. And as you can see, I included a picture of my little setup over there. It was good. It took some getting used to, but it was really nice. So I worked with my co-intern the entire summer, and we divided our work up, and we started with PM, and we did the entire PM for our internship. So we did like all of the spec planning. We had interviews with our team to see what we should do with our project. And then after that, we switched to the SWE part where we actually implemented our project. And this rotation of roles between PM and SWE can work differently depending on what team you're on and who your mentors are, but you will get to experience both roles, which is very cool. I actually was in a dilemma all summer trying to choose which one I wanted to apply for next summer, but I ended up choosing SWE, and I am returning next year at Microsoft as a SWE intern, so I'm very excited about that. I do want to also just note that when I applied for Microsoft last year, it was at an event just like this. I came to a resume drop and I was really insecure about my resume, and I was looking at everyone else who was in line's resumes, and mine was like very high school-y, I guess you could say. So I didn't have very high hopes, but I was fortunate enough and very pleasantly surprised to see an email from Brian saying, hey, like, apply, we got your resume. I was like, oh my God, I should apply. Like, I didn't even apply. So definitely, if you're feeling insecure about your resume, it's okay. The Explorer program is perfect for that. I feel like Microsoft saw some potential in me that I didn't even see in myself. I was so surprised to get that first interview, and then even more surprised to get that second interview. So if you're having some imposter syndrome, don't worry about it. We all go through that. You can totally do this. You just need to believe in yourself, and you can do it. So yeah, I had a really great experience working this summer though, and I'm excited for next summer too.
I love to hear that. Thanks for sharing, Rishika. Yeah, it's always fun to see candidates make it through, especially that we meet on campus or through virtual events. It's awesome. And then Z, do you want to tell us a little bit about your summer?
Oh yeah, sure. Oh, you're clicking too fast, Brian. But that's totally fine. So I'm Z, and like I said before, I worked in the CDG security team, and I was a PM intern there. And this picture, the circly picture, is me and my two dogs who kind of worked beside me because we had a virtual internship, so I got to do that. Yeah, next. Cool. So during the internship, I had my own project as well, like anybody else, but I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about like some of the other events that happened within within the internship experience. So like once you get your project, because once you start your internship, you're assigned to a mentor who is also typically within your team as well, and they will like bootstrap you to start your project. And I had an amazing mentor. His name is Caleb. And he basically got me started off with my project, and it was smooth sailing. So the other portion of the internship is more about like connecting with others. How do you do that in this virtual environment, right? And Microsoft actually provided a really, really good platform for us to do that by hosting all these kind of virtual events. And one of them, which is the Microsoft Hackathon. So I actually did a hackathon with people from like 6 different countries and 6 different time zones. And we created a project called Teams Avatars, where we wanted to bring in avatars within Teams so that if you have your camera off, you can still have a little avatar that expresses what you want to feel. Right. So that was the project that I did outside of my project. It was like a yeah, fun little thing. And then for another event that we had, one of the bigger events just made for interns, is called Intern Day, and we had Trevor Noah as our host. So if you guys love him, which I do, it was pretty amazing. That was a real highlight of my internship experience. So the next part is called Westward. So this is a Microsoft game that happens every year. Typically, when you are not virtual, they would actually have you rent out a car and drive around Washington to do a scavenger hunt. So it's called the Microsoft game. But this year, we actually ended up having a giant puzzle day where you basically got into teams, really got to know your teammates, and played puzzle all day. And it was really fun. And they actually revealed the tech behind it afterwards, and it blew my mind. So I highly recommend it. Next. Cool. I mean, aside from that, like what Angie, I believe, yeah, Angie was saying about coffee conversation. That's another highlight of the internship experience because you get to talk to somebody that you don't think you would be able to. Like, I was talking to oh, Bill, the EVP of gaming, because he was willing to talk about these things, right? Like he's willing to like become vulnerable with interns and just talk about his any questions that you would ask. So it's pretty cool. And then the other thing that my team actually personally had, because I was part of the services pen test team, which where we do like penetration testing for to test different security vulnerabilities within within CDG specifically. So we actually had this Serpent Academy where you can actually learn different things that is pertinent to what you might want to take away from like the specific tech skills or tech stacks that you want to take away. Cool. Next. And I guess for me personally, my manager, like you will, at least I believe that Microsoft has amazing managers because my manager really invested in my potential to grow. So the very first thing that he gave me was this book called Red Teaming because I didn't actually know what red team mean. I was like, okay, if there's a red team, is there like a blue team or something? Because I didn't know anything about security, right? So going in, and he knew that. So he actually sent me this book called Red Teaming, explaining what red team actually means, right? So they become very invested in your future, not just as a Microsoft employee, but also as in like the knowledge that you can gather that you can take somewhere else as well. And he has definitely put heavy emphasis on that. Next. Cool. Brian?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so in addition, like there are other technology that you can learn. Like for me, I didn't know what so for those of you who don't know, it's like the big data. It's kind of like I would say, data SQL database where you're basically making these Kusto queries to big clusters of data, right? So I didn't know what that was, and I was able to learn it through the internship. And then next. And I guess my last one is my favorite thing that I've found, which is called Flow. It's called or Power Automate. And it basically lets you do a lot of automation processes that like that simplifies your life. And since my project, my actual project for the internship involved automating some of the manual process that involves security bugs, this was like my best friend. Cool. And that's pretty much sums up my experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Z, for taking us on that ride with you on what you learned this summer. It's awesome to hear so many different things that like you were able to learn. And I love the point that you brought home around like managers investing in your growth, because that's huge. I think it's something that we often understate. So thank you for that. And thank you all of you for sharing more about your experiences. We learned about, some different internships, and I'm going to explain a little bit about the two different internships that we hire for and help you understand, which internship might be right for you. I know, there's a lot of anxiety these days, especially around like whether companies are hiring students anymore. I know we're oftentimes worried about, the economic situation that companies might be in, but it always makes me really happy and relieved to share that Microsoft is still hiring thousands of students and is doing so right now and throughout the fall recruiting season, again for both internship and full-time roles. So we're looking forward to sharing more. In regards to like the internship programs, Rashika talked about the Explore internship, and at a high level, the Explore internship is an early in career internship opportunity that freshmen and sophomores are encouraged to apply for. You'll notice that sophomores is bolded here, and that's because we do prioritize sophomores in that process. It is, still available for freshmen as well, so don't get discouraged. I would still encourage you to apply. Oftentimes, too, if you're not selected, your freshman year, we might, stay in touch with you for opportunities in the next year. It's a 12-week paid internship, and during that time, you typically rotate between both software engineering and the program management discipline. So if you're not quite sure if you're more interested in PM or in software engineering, the Explore internship typically gives you that opportunity to kind of experience both. And then again, like Rashika mentioned, she was working with like a podmate or two podmates. And in that experience, you also have a little more support built in. So you're learning together, and you won't have to, have the pressure of working as independently as you might in a traditional internship. But in addition to your podmates, you have, a manager and a mentor and a recruiting contact and a variety of supports to help along the way. The second internship that we offer, the one that Angie and Z have completed this past summer, is typically for sophomores and juniors, and you'll notice that juniors are prioritized in this scenario. It's also a 12-week paid internship, but instead of rotating between disciplines, you actually will alternate between, you will choose one discipline and you kind of go in that direction. You do work a little more independently on a project with a team, but you still have many supports, including like a manager, a mentor, and other recruiting contacts as well. We had a question in the chat about whether graduate students can apply for the university internship, and yes, that is a really great call out. We kind of figure sophomore and junior by grad date. So really we're looking for, June 2022 grads for the university internship. So that's inclusive of graduate students. Thanks for that. In terms of the disciplines that we hire both interns and full-time students for, we have a variety of them. We are a software engineering company, or we are a software company, so a majority of our open roles do fall within software engineering. But we do have some openings that are within, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, program management, data scientists. So keep that in mind. All of the roles that you see here are posted on our website. And that brings us to kind of just an overview of what our application process looks like. The very first step, and this is something that I really want to emphasize, is that you have to submit an online application. I don't always send a reminder, so sometimes I might review your resume and think it's awesome, but if I can't find your resume online, then I might assume that you weren't interested in the opportunity. So make sure that you do that as soon as you get your resume reviewed by one of the engineers this Friday. I would really recommend submitting an online application. Those went live in mid-August this year. And there's just 2 stops along the way to getting an offer at Microsoft. And I know that sounds really simple, but we try to make it as streamlined as possible. The first step is a first round screen. So if we review your resume, we think you're a great fit, we'll invite you to a first round virtual interview. It's 30 minutes and it's a blend of technical and behavioral questions. And then we move into the final round stage if that goes well. At the final round stage, you can also expect that to be virtual, although when life returns as we used to know it, we typically fly candidates to their destination or the location that they might be working. In this scenario, you can expect 2 to 4 interviews, and these each are about 45 minutes long. So we get a chance to know you and about your passion and your potential a little bit more deeply. And then at the offer stage, we typically we can let you know within a week of your interview to let you know if you got an offer. And then candidates typically have about 2 weeks to make a decision on that offer. We typically, at events like these, we get to hang out and collect resumes. And like Rashika mentioned, she was able to drop off a resume. And I know that can be a little nerve-wracking, but what's nice about the virtual space is that you don't have to stand in line. You can actually just drop off your resume by clicking on this link or scanning this QR code. It'll send you to a registration form for this event. You don't have to register for the event, but what I'm hoping to collect is just some information about who is here. I will not do anything with your data. It's all being stored in a GDPR compliant way, but it is helpful for me to collect your resume. That way I can prioritize you in the application process. So don't forget to do this. And you have until Sunday to submit that. So I know a lot of you might be thinking like, oh, I want to go to this resume review thing on Friday and then I'll submit. And that's exactly why I'm giving you all until Sunday to submit. So make sure you do that and make sure you also apply online. This is not the same thing. This is just a resume drop, not an application. We got a really good question from Ananya about whether or not we offer fall, winter, or spring internships, and Microsoft only offers summer internships. So thank you for asking that. All right, we are going to break out into our breakout rooms. So I'm going to be dropping some links here in the chat for you all to join your respective breakout room. The way we've done this is we've separated it out by, what you might be eligible based on your graduation date. So freshmen and sophomores, we'd encourage you to, go to room A where you can find Rashika and Kelly, and they're going to be talking about that experience in particular. So you can click on the link that I'm waiting to be shared. Great. Let me just remove that. Okay, great. And then if you are interested in the university internship, you can join Angie and Z in breakout room B. And then if you are interested in full-time opportunities, you can click on breakout room C, which is where you can find Devanshi and Pratyusha. There's no need to come back to this room after you are done. I want to thank everyone and again the leaders of the orgs to help us set this up, and of course to our fabulous panelists for sharing more about their experiences and helping us lead that workshop. But we hope this was helpful, and I will be in the chat for any recruiter questions. So just drop those in the chat. You can even at me and I will get you some answers. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, no problem.
Hi, I'm having some trouble joining room B. Is that an issue for anybody else?
Me too. I just got my Wi-Fi off like for 2 minutes just before now, and then I couldn't get into any room, and also I don't see the link in the chat.
Okay. I see the link. If you scroll up, there's like a message at 5:55 p.m. from Brian. I see the links there, but when I click on them, it doesn't do anything.
In my case, I don't think I'm seeing the chat in a right way. I don't know if I'm doing right, but I don't see anybody talking at 5:55.
Okay. I just sent it again at if you see in the chat.
Yeah.
At 6 p.m. it should say like Christina said something.
The chat. I'm thinking that chat is like next, like 4 places, no, 5, 6 places next to get away from the call. There is a place where you can see chat. It's like a message icon, and by clicking there, I can see chat, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there, I don't see. I only see Brian saying 4:53 that one, and that's all I see.
Oh shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you for helping.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I'm also having trouble trying to join a room.
Where is everybody?
I'm not sure. It says there are 54 plus people here, but you found the link, but
how about, can you try sending me like personal message like in here?
maybe. Let me see. Sorry, I've never used this platform before. If you can tell, I'm not a software engineering major.
Yeah, what is your name? Christina?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know how to send it to you.
Me neither. I was going to send you a message to you so that we can chat, but then I can't do that either.
Yeah. Hopefully somebody comes back, but
everybody is on their own group now, so maybe not.
Let's see if I can. I know Brian said we could possibly add him in the chat, so let me try that. Okay, I just sent him a message, but let me see if I can also send you a message.
I think I tried sending you a message right now, and I think I did, but it doesn't send, so I don't know.
I think he's coming back to the room. Okay,
Oh.
he reacted to it, so I think he's coming back.
Oh, yay.
So I'm gonna drop.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so it sounds like some of you are having trouble joining rooms.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to hear that. So sorry. Here are the links again. Can you see the links in the chat?
I can.
My problem is that I can't see the link.
Okay, so do you have any access to the chat feature?
Yes, I think it's the like message icon that I can see on the top next to like participants and raising hands. And here I click it and there is a chat, but all I see is your message at 4:53. Welcome everyone. Please feel free to, and that's the only
Oh,
message.
wow. Oh, that's crazy. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, so, and there's a lot of you on this call that are, I presume, are having the same issue. You can come off mute and say yes.
I can see the chat, but I can't click the links.
Oh.
Same
Okay.
for me.
Are you all using the web browser?
I'm using the desktop app.
I think I'm using desktop app also.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask that each of you just email me. So actually, I wonder what the best way is to share. Actually, what I'm going to do is, yes, I will go ahead and have you email me. So it's brcuad@microsoft.com, and I will just send you the links directly as a reply to your mail. So if everyone can send me an email and say like, hey, I would like the breakout rooms link, I will just kick all of those links to you via email.
Can you say your email again?
Yep, BR, so B as in boy, R as in Robert, C as in cat, U as in umbrella, A as in apple, and then D as in dog at Microsoft.com.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, just send me an email and I will send you all the links. If anyone is having a different problem, let me know by coming off mute.
I'm having, I guess, a kind of different problem. I can see the links, but when I press open, it doesn't like go anywhere.
How strange. Okay,
Can
yeah,
you
send me an
send
email.
me somewhere? Like,
Yeah, so go ahead and send me an email and I will answer you all.
Send the email.
Is anyone else on this call like still having trouble joining?
Did you receive the email that I sent?
Yes, I did, Carolina. Yeah. I think once you leave this call, you'll be able to join the others, no problem.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
So we leave this call and then join the breakout room we'd like.
Yeah, Divya, do you have access to the links?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I would try that. I would leave this call and then join the other link, and I think that might help.
Thank you so much for
Yeah.
your help.
No problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.